You're still asking for permission to win. That's why you're losing. You already know how this story begins. You have a vision, a plan, a flame that won't go out, no matter how many times life blows against it. But every time you look around, at your friends, at your family, at your phone, you get the same response. Silence. A look away. The "don't you think that's too risky?" said with the smile of someone who wants to see you stay in your place. And you tried. It wasn't for lack of trying. You explained your idea, with patience, with enthusiasm, with all the weight of the conviction you feel. They nodded. Said they supported you. And the next day, life went on exactly the same for them, while you were left alone carrying something nobody around you can even see. You waited for the right moment. Waited until you had more money. Waited for the right partner. Waited for someone to believe first. Waited for the approval they told you would come if you were good enough. It never came. And this isn't cheap motivation I'm describing. This is real exhaustion. The kind of tired that doesn't go away with a good night's sleep. The kind that settles into your jaw, your shoulders, the way you stare at the ceiling at 3 in the morning wondering if you're going crazy, or if you're the only one who's awake. Who told you that you needed support to start? Who planted this idea that the path was to convince others first, then build? Because that belief is paralyzing you. It turned your ambition into dependency. It made you beg for approval from people who don't even have the courage to want what you want. You're not stuck because you lack talent. You're not stuck because you lack ideas. You're stuck because you're waiting for a green light that will never turn on. And there's a reason for that. A specific, calculated reason nobody ever told you. Because they sold you a fundamental lie. They told you support is generosity. That people help you because they believe in you. Lie. Support is a transaction. When someone helps you, they buy a slice of what you're going to build, whether in emotional debt, in influence, in future loyalty. Every extended hand has a palm waiting to be filled in return. And worse, they taught you that needing support is humility. That asking for help is social intelligence. That collaborating is the only way to climb. This narrative wasn't created to free you. It was created to keep you predictable, dependent, and easy to control. Isolation is not the problem. Isolation is the solution you haven't learned to use as a weapon yet. Machiavelli knew this 500 years ago. In The Prince, he didn't write for the man who wants to be loved. He wrote for the man who wants to last. And he was direct. A wise prince does not build his security on what is in others' control. Because what is in others' control can be taken away. And when it is taken away, you fall. The greats weren't great because they had support. They were great in spite of not having it. Tesla died alone, misunderstood, with the richest mind of the century. Michelangelo fought with popes, patrons, and apprentices his entire life, and the Sistine Chapel still exists. Historians don't document committees. They document individuals who refuse to ask for permission. Psychology calls this anti-fragility, the property of systems that grow stronger under stress, not weaker. You will not discover your true capacity inside a safety net. You discover it when the net doesn't exist and you're still standing. In this video, you'll learn the 6 phases of what I call zero sovereignty. Phase 1, the support lie. Phase 2, the ghost phase. Phase 3, self-architecture. Phase 4, the shadow as fuel. Phase 5, war protocols. Phase 6, the return of the ghosts. By the end of this video, you'll have a map. Not of how to ask for help better. Of how to never need to ask again. But I need to be honest with you about what this is going to cost. This is not self-help. Self-help tells you to love yourself more, surround yourself with positive people, manifest abundance. This is something else. This is surgical self-destruction, killing the part of you that cries for validation, that waits for approval, that shrinks its own voice to not scare the herd. It's going to hurt. Grieving illusions always hurts. You'll have to hold a funeral for the version of you that still believes someone is going to show up to save your idea. If you're looking for comfort, turn this off. This channel has plenty of content for those who prefer to stay warm in the middle of the crowd. But if you're ready to understand why the most dangerous man in the room is usually the one who is most alone, then take a deep breath. Because phase 1 starts now. And it will demand that you destroy the belief your entire life was built to protect. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise prince should rely on what is in his own control, not on what is in the control of others." But there's an application of this that nobody ever taught you. When you seek support, you're seeking to be loved. And whoever seeks to be loved hands power to whoever can take that love away at any moment. The average man operates like this. He has an idea and needs someone to believe before he starts. He presents the plan to his family, tests it in his friend group, posts online waiting for a reaction. He outsources permission to exist. And when the reaction is lukewarm, and it always is, he interprets that as a sign the idea was bad. He quits, starts over, asks for permission again. The cycle repeats until ambition dies of starvation. What he doesn't understand is the mechanics behind it. Support isn't generosity, it's investment. When someone backs your vision, they buy an invisible stake in it. Your gratitude becomes currency. Your loyalty becomes obligation. Your decisions start to factor in what the backer will think. You didn't gain an ally, you gained a creditor. The safety net is also a spider web. It cushions the fall, yes. But it also traps you. The exit is brutal in its simplicity. Stop asking for permission to exist. Not from your family. Not from your friends. Not from the market before you have anything to show. Build first. Prove after. Validation that comes before results is poison disguised as support. The only validation that matters is the kind the market gives when you've already delivered something that can't be ignored. The man who needs support to start will never truly start. Because there will always be someone who doesn't believe. And while you wait to convince that person, time passes, the window closes, and the version of you who could have made it ages in silence. If you recognize this pattern in yourself, drop in the comments, "I don't need permission." Not for me. For yourself. Sun Tzu said, "Be subtle to the point of formlessness. Be mysterious to the point of soundlessness." This isn't metaphor. It's operational protocol. Most people with a big ambition do the same thing. They tell someone. They can't hold it. They have an idea at 11 at night, and by breakfast they've told 3 people. The partner. The friend. The mother. Sometimes they post. Sometimes they ask for opinions. Every conversation feels like an investment. I'm building my network, I'm testing my idea, I'm being transparent. No. You're leaking. There's a documented phenomenon in behavioral psychology called social substitution. When you talk about a goal and receive a positive reaction, a nod, a "that's great," a like, your brain releases dopamine. The same neurotransmitter it releases when you actually achieve something. You achieved nothing. But your nervous system was tricked into thinking you already did. So the urgency disappears. The pressure drops. You stop working with the same intensity because you unconsciously already felt rewarded. You destroyed the fuel before the engine started. The ghost phase is the antidote. It's a period of total operational silence about your goals. No new chapter posts. No motivational stories. No conversations about plans. Only invisible work accumulating. What happens when you hold the internal pressure without releasing it through your mouth is that it transforms. It becomes clarity. It becomes productive obsession. It becomes hours of work you didn't know you had. The steam that doesn't escape through the valve moves the piston. How long? Minimum 90 days. Ideally, until you have results that speak for themselves. Pause the video right now. Think, when was the last time you talked about a plan before executing it? How much of that plan exists today? That answer is the size of the problem. Nietzsche wrote, "Man must overcome himself. Not overcome others. Not overcome circumstances. Himself. Because the greatest obstacle between you and what you want to build isn't out there. It's inside, in the version of you that learned to need external structure to function. The average man needs a boss to work. Needs a gym partner to train. Needs a deadline to deliver. Without external pressure, he dissolves. Not because he's lazy, but because he never developed the capacity to be his own authority. He outsourced his discipline along with his validation. When you operate without support, you have no boss, no team, no one to hold you accountable. And most people who get here discover the problem wasn't lack of opportunity. It was lack of internal structure. Total freedom reveals exactly who you are without the social mask of obligation. Self-architecture is the process of building that structure from the inside. It starts with a division you need to accept. There is the version of you that is tired, emotional, that wants the easy path. And there is the commander, the version that sees those impulses as noise and operates despite them. The work isn't to eliminate the tiredness. It's to develop the commander strong enough to drag the rest through the mud when necessary. In practice, you create protocols that don't depend on motivation. The time you wake up is not decided every morning, it's set. The work block doesn't start when you feel ready, it's on the calendar as law. The nightly audit doesn't happen when you remember, it happens every day, without exception. You don't build discipline by getting motivated. You build discipline by obeying rules you created for yourself when you were clear-headed. Which protocol do you still not have? Comment here, morning, work, food, or night. Which area of your life still has no defined structure? Carl Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. The shadow is the part of you society taught you to hide. The envy, the rage, the pride, the desire to prove the doubters wrong. You were told these emotions are weak. That mature men don't operate on spite. That ambition for revenge is petty. That's another lie. And this one is disarming you. The average man tries to operate in the light. Gets inspired by quotes. Sets positive goals. Visualizes success. And when the motivation disappears, and it always does, because motivation is an emotion and emotions are volatile, he stops. Because he has no more fuel. Inspiration is solar, clean, renewable, but non-existent at night. And most of the real work happens at night. The shadow doesn't go out. It's always there. Jung called integration the process of recognizing your shadow and channeling it consciously, instead of pretending it doesn't exist. In practice, when you feel envy of someone who reached where you want to go, that's not a sign you're small. It's information about what you still want. When you feel rage at the person who doubted you, that's not emotional weakness. It's high-octane fuel waiting for a direction. Michael Jordan wasn't motivated by love of basketball at 3 in the morning. He was driven by a mental list of everyone who ever underestimated him. He turned other people's contempt into personal discipline. You have that list. You were just taught to be ashamed of it. Stop. Open a notes app right now. Write the names. Write what they said. And every time you want to quit, read it again. I need to ask you something directly. Are you still using inspiration as your main fuel? If so, you'll stop again next week. I guarantee it. Because inspiration doesn't cross the desert. Spite does. We're approaching the end. And everything set up to this point, the silence, the self-architecture, the shadow, means nothing without operationalization. Philosophy without execution is poetry. Beautiful. Useless. The average man treats his freedom like a vacation. No boss, he sleeps late. No team, he procrastinates. No deadline, he never delivers. He confuses absence of external structure with absence of structure. And so he slowly dissolves into a fog of unrealized potential, busy all the time, productive at nothing. You'll operate differently. You'll operate like a battlefield. Protocol 1, the morning negotiation. The moment your eyes open, you're in a negotiation with a weak version of yourself. It wants 5 more minutes. It wants to check the phone. It wants to decide how the day goes based on your mood. You don't negotiate. You already decided. The schedule exists. The first act of the day is proof that you're in command, not the tiredness. Protocol 2, war blocks. You don't work all day. You fight for 4 hours with the door closed, phone out of reach, and a single objective on the screen. No meetings. No interruptions. No multitasking. In those blocks, you produce more than most produce in a week, because you have something they don't, absolute focus from having no one to interrupt you. Protocol 3, information diet. Your mind is the only asset you have right now. If you feed it with news, drama, and empty entertainment content, you produce garbage. Machiavelli studied the Romans, not the gossip of Florence. You study what you want to become. Protocol 4, nightly audit. Every night, one question: did I move the needle today or just make noise? No self-complacency. No, it was a hard day. The commander evaluates, corrects, sleeps, repeats. These 4 protocols are your structure when there's no one to create structure for you. Which one do you start implementing tomorrow? Not someday. Tomorrow. Comment the number 1, 2, 3, or 4. Phase 6. The hardest. Not because it demands more work. Because it demands that you don't undo everything you built the moment the world finally sees you. You will get there. If you applied the 5 previous phases, if you stopped asking for permission, entered the silence, built your internal structure, integrated your shadow, and operated with war protocols, one day the numbers will change. The money will appear. The posture will shift. People will notice something different about you before they even know what changed. And then they'll come back. The friends who were too busy. The family members who asked when you were getting a real job. The ex-partner who left for someone more stable. They'll show up with smiles. With selective memories. With a phrase that will test everything you built psychologically. I always knew you'd make it. That phrase is the final trap. Because the version of you that started this journey, the one who stayed up until 3 in the morning wondering if it was going crazy, the one who stared at the phone waiting for a message of encouragement that never came, that version will want to believe it. Will want to say, see, they always believed. Will want to let them back in. Because you still remember the pain of being alone, and human pain wants resolution. Don't confuse resolution with rewriting history. The final test isn't the market. It isn't the competition. It's this moment. The man who maintains clarity here, who treats the return with elegant indifference, no anger and no opening, that man proved the transformation was real. Because real transformation doesn't reverse when social pressure changes direction. You don't need to be cruel. You don't need to make a scene. You simply continue being who you became when nobody was watching. Polite. Distant. Impenetrable. A glass wall. They can see you, but they can't touch you. The castle you built alone, stone by stone, without help, without applause, without a safety net, that castle is yours. Entirely. And the only people who enter are the ones who helped carry the stones. Since you were alone, the doors only open from the inside. You learn to destroy the support lie. Whoever helps you buys you. You entered the ghost phase, strategic silence that transforms isolation into productive pressure. You built your self-architecture, the internal commander who operates without a boss, without a partner, without approval. You integrated your shadow, rage, spite, and pride as high-octane fuel when inspiration fails. You installed the war protocols, for structures that replace all the external scaffolding you never had. And you survived the return of the ghosts, the final test of who you became when the world tried to rewrite your story. 6 phases. 1 direction. But what do you do with this now? The world is getting louder. More dependent. More anxious for validation, for likes, for belonging. Every platform was designed to keep you asking for permission in a loop. Post, wait for the reaction, adjust behavior based on feedback. Most people will spend their entire lives inside that cycle without ever realizing it's a cage. You made it here. That already separates you from most. Not because you're special by nature, but because you're willing to face what most avoid. Truths that make you uncomfortable. Silence that scares you. Solitude that most rush to fill with anything. Now you have a choice. And it's binary. You can close this video, go back to the feed, and let this content be one more thing you consumed without applying. Or you can decide that today is the day the version of you that needs approval starts to die. Not tomorrow. Not when conditions are better. Today. There's no middle ground in this journey. The man who builds in silence and the man who performs for approval cannot coexist in the same body for long. One will kill the other. The only question is which one you're going to feed. If you're leaving here different from how you arrived, comment, I carry the stones alone. Not for me. To publicly register for yourself that this is the direction you're choosing. If this video moved something in you, the like isn't for the algorithm, it's an act of acknowledgement of the work you're willing to do. And if you want to continue this descent into the psychology of power, into the real nature of human behavior, into the truths nobody has the courage to say out loud, subscribe. Because the next video will show you how the people around you are already manipulating you right now, and why you keep letting them. The old you stayed at the beginning of this video. Go without him.